Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala Nabi Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So the last hadith we took was, which one, 535?
535 and 536.
Mumtaz.
536.
Okay, Mumtaz, let's go to 537. Oh, that's right, let's start with the questions. Go ahead, Amr, give me your question again.
The question was about someone who didn't realize that he had to stop fasting at the time of Fajr, and he thought he could eat until they prayed Fajr in the masjid.
Okay.
And this went on for some time. Does he have to make up those fasts where he ate after the time of Fajr?
Ahsant, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam rasulullah. So I'm going to repeat the question to make sure it's clear. So Amr, he says, as a person who maybe new to Islam, didn't really understand the Ahkam of fasting accurately, and so he would continue to eat and drink until the time when they would make Fajr in the masjid. So maybe he had like one of those schedules and it says the Iqamah time is 4:45. And so he would eat and drink until 4:45, although the Fajr came in at 4:20, let's say, or 4:15 or whatever. So Amr is saying he didn't know that he was supposed to stop eating at the time of the adhan of Fajr, when Fajr first comes. And this went on for a period of time. Let's say it went on for 20 days. Until he came to know that he was not supposed to be doing that. So now the question is that now these days, technically speaking, he didn't start fasting when he was supposed to fast. And part of the day of fasting, he wasn't fasting. So now does he have to now make up that 20 days where he fasted, well, he didn't fast he didn't fast the entire day. There's a qa'idah, there's a principle, and that's why I mentioned in the beginning, man hurim al-usul, hurim al-usul. That a person, if he doesn't have these qawaid, if he doesn't have these principles, then he's not going to be able to what? To reach the right conclusion. So there's a qa'idah, there's a principle, and it's based upon evidence from the Quran and Sunnah. And the qa'idah, it says, man jahil al-hukm. I'm sorry, yeah, al-jahil al-hukm. إذا فعل شيئا محظورا أو ترك مأمورا فلا يأثم ولا يلزم بشيء. So the qaida, it says that an individual who was unaware of the ruling, he was unaware of the ruling, didn't know that this thing was haram or this thing was wajib, was required. If because of that ignorance of the ruling, he does something haram, does something prohibited, or fails to do something required, he is neither sinful nor is he ordered to what? To make amends. Okay? Make it up or whatever. So now if we apply this principle we can apply this principle to anything in the deen. It's a principle based upon verses from the Quran and from ahadeeth of the Prophet. So for example, Allah says, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We're not going to punish anyone until we send a messenger to them, till they're made aware that the thing they're doing is wrong. And Allah says, وَمَن يُشَاقِقِ الرَّسُولِ من بعد ما تبين له الهدى ويتبع غير سبيل المؤمنين نوله ما تولى ونسله جهنم وساءت مصيرا. He says, and those who contradict and oppose the messenger, and they follow a path other than the path of the believers, نوله ما تولى, we will entrust him to the path he has chosen, ونسله جهنم, we'll burn him in the fire of hell, وساءت مصيرا. So now if you notice in this ayah, Allah says he was going to do this to the person who contradicted and opposed the messenger. But he said what? مِن بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيْنَ لَهُ الْهُدَى. After the guidance has become clear to him. Meaning, if the guidance has become clear to him, Allah is not going to do what? Expose him to that punishment. And there are other verses along this line. We also have the hadith where Ammar ibn Yasir, he was sent by the Prophet ﷺ on a mission to do something. And in the course of that mission, he became junub. He became sexually defiled. He needed to make a ghusl. And he didn't have any water with him. Now he was aware of the ayat of tayammum. He was aware that there is this dry ablution that you can do when you need to make wudu or ghusl and you don't have any water. But he wasn't aware, he hadn't been taught, and it wasn't clear to him how this dry ablution is supposed to be done. You know, what steps do you take in order for you to what? So he said to himself, he said, well, when we make a complete bath, we do what? We cover our body in water. Every part of our body has to be touched by water when we make a bath. So he said, when you make dry ablution, every part of your body should have to be touched by dust or sand or soil. Wa alaikum salam. So he laid down on the ground and he said, I rolled around the way a donkey rolls around. And I went back to the Prophet, so I informed him what I had done. And the Prophet smiled and he said, إِنَّمَا كَانَ يُجْزِيكَ أَنْ يَقُولَ بِيَدَيْكَ هَكَذَا. He said it would have been enough for you to do what? To strike your hands against soil and then do this. He showed him how to make tayammum. And he didn't order him to do what? Didn't order him to what? Make tayammum and repeat those prayers. Showing that what? When he didn't know the ruling, he wasn't sinful, nor did he have to do what? Make amends. You guys see that? So that being said, this is important qaida. Why? Because it's always useful. You're always going to run into situations like what Amr mentioned, where somebody's going to come to you and say, I didn't know that you can't have relations with your wife during the day of Ramadan. I didn't know that. Totally didn't know. A lot of people who don't know this qaida, you know what they're going to say? Oh man, you gotta fast 60 days consecutively. You guys see that? And that's going to run the person out of Islam. He's going to say, oh, I don't. See you later. When in reality, he doesn't have to fast at all. Because why? He didn't know. He was ignorant of what? Of the ruling. So to answer Amr's question, we say what? As long as he didn't know the ruling, he didn't know that that's the way he had to operate. He actually thought that I can continue to eat and drink until they pray in the masjid, then his fast is correct, and he doesn't have to what? Make amends. But now and once he's educated, once he's taught, then after that he has to comply. Yeah. Tafadhal, Shaykh, what was yours?
So the question I had was, so we keep talking about we should delay the suhoor,
Mm-hmm.
we should hasten to break the fast. The question is, how can we be sure when is the time for fajr?
Take the microphone.
How can we be sure that this is the time for fajr or this is the time for maghrib? Because with some scholars they say that the time for fajr can't really be calculated. And then is the calculation for sunset, is that adequate for maghrib?
Hey. Wallahi, to be honest with you, under our circumstances in the environment in which we live, where there are so many buildings, so many lights, there's not a clear view of the horizon. And even if we had a clear view of the horizon, we couldn't be certain that what we think is that first crack of dawn is not what? The reflection of what? Lighting and so on and so forth. We really have no choice but to rely on calculations, and we just try to find the most reliable calculations possible. Now some people may say that, well, we're going to go out to a barren area, and they may make that effort in ijtihad, and we're not discounting that, we're not dispelling that or dismissing that. I'm just saying that their ability to really determine is still going to be in question. Why? Because the area in which we live in general, and the effect of what? The reflection of light from buildings and lighting, etc. So that being said, we really have no choice but to rely on calculations, and we just try to rely on the calculations which we feel, in the best of our ability, is the most accurate. And sometimes it's a matter of ihtiyat. So perhaps in the fasting months, we'll go with the calendar or the calculation which puts Fajr what? The earliest. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're sure that we're not eating at a time when we should be fasting. And when it comes to the prayer, the actual prayer, we'll go with the calendar, which is what? The latest. So we're sure that we're not praying at a time when the prayer is not going to be acceptable. So for example, let's say, and usually they're not going to be off by too many minutes. So let's say we have a calendar that says that Fajr will come in at 4:15. Another calendar 4:23, another calendar 4:30, let's say. So then when it comes to the suhoor in Ramadan, I would go with 4:15. And for the Fajr, I go with 4:30. I would start at 4:30, like that. You follow me? So all you can do really is rely on calculations because it's just very difficult to confirm under the circumstances. But then you use the qaida, the principle of ihtiyat, erring on the side of caution, in terms of what? Which calculations you follow. So in terms of the suhoor, go with the earlier one. And in terms of the Fajr, go with the later one. If that makes sense, yeah. But as far as saying you can't calculate, you can't calculate it. I mean, these methods have been used for ages. So you can calculate it, and obviously what the scholar might have meant was that you can't calculate it with pinpoint accuracy. Well, nothing is like that. And even the deen basically tells us that we have to be what? In the closest proximity given our human ability. Allah knows we're humans. So again, if he means you can't calculate with pinpoint accuracy, there may be some truth to that. But if he says you can't calculate and get into a ballpark, that's not true. That's not true. طيب. All right. تفضل.
Regarding the first matter.
Uh-huh.
But if a sister was ignorant for years, that she did not think that she had to make up her fast. Now when she knows, does she have to make up all of those fasts for years?
She didn't know she had to make up.
Yeah, make up the fast that she missed every month.
You mean due to the menses, you mean? So let's say for 5 years she was under the impression that just like the prayer, if I don't fast due to menses, then I don't have to make it up, just like the prayer. And this is what she really thought for 5 years. لا جاهد بالحكم لا يأثم ولا يؤمر بشيء. I mean, the qaida is muqtarida, even if it was 5 years. The length of time doesn't change. Was she ignorant? That's the question. The ruling hinges on the reality of her ignorance. No one should say, well, 5 years she should have asked somebody. You follow me? No, I mean, as long as she wasn't negligent in the sense that there was something in the back of her mind saying, I don't know about this. You follow me? And she doesn't ask, then yeah, we could say she was negligent. But if it never occurred to her that there was anything wrong with that, and nobody taught her, and the knowledge never reached her, and she really was legitimately ignorant and wasn't negligent, then what? The ruling applies. Because we have, as those who studied usul al-fiqh with us, they know that we have different levels of this ruling. Is that right? Of this principle. One level is the ignorant, the one who's ignorant of the ruling. The next level is the one who's ignorant of the condition, the state of affairs. The next one is the one who is ignorant of the uquba. You guys remember that? I know it's wrong. I know I did it, but I don't know what the punishment is. And then the next one is a nasi, the one who forgets. And the next one is the one who what? They're negligent. Okay? And each one has its own ruling. So as long as she wasn't from the category of negligent, if she really was ignorant of the ruling, then what? That rule applies to her. She doesn't have to make it up. Barakallahu feek. All right. So shall we continue? تفضل عامر.
Hadith 537, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam forbade continuous fasting. And a man said, you fast continuously, O Messenger of Allah. He replied, who is like me? During the night, my Lord gives me food and drink. When they refused to stop the continuous fasting, he fasted with them for a day, and then another, and then they saw the moon. He then said, if the new moon had not appeared, I would have made you fast more in this way. He seemed to want to punish them when they refused to stop.
Subhanallah. Keep going. تفضل.
538. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if one does not abandon falsehood and action in accordance with it and foolishness, Allah has no need that he should abandon his food and drink. Reported by Al-Bukhari and Abu Dawud. Hadith 539. Narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to kiss and fondle while he was fasting. But he was the one among you who had the most control over his sexual desire. Agreed upon. Another version of Muslim has, in addition, during Ramadan. Hadith 540. Narrated Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had himself cupped when he was wearing ihram during the Hajj or Umrah, and also when he was fasting, reported by Muslims. Hadith 541. Narrated Shaddad bin Aus radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came across a man in al-Baqi' who was being cupped in Ramadan. He said, the one who cups and the one who is cupped have broken their fast. Reported by al-Khamsa, except at-Tirmidhi, Ahmad ibn Khuzaymah, except at-Tirmidhi. Ahmad ibn Khuzaymah ibn Hibban graded it Sahih. 542. Narrated Anas radiallahu anhu. The first time when cupping for one who was fasting was disapproved was that Ja'far ibn Abi Talib had himself cupped when he was fasting, and the Prophet ﷺ came across him and said, both of these have broken their fast. Afterwards, the Prophet ﷺ allowed cupping for the one who was fasting. Anas used to have himself cupped when he was fasting. Ad-Daraqutni reported it and declared it to be strong.
طيب, let me comment on the first, the previous hadith, 542. I'm sorry, 541 and 542. Quickly before you complete. 541. This hadith was not only authenticated by Ahmad ibn Khuzaymah ibn Hibban, it was also authenticated by Bukhari. And this hadith or its meaning has been narrated on the authority of 16 of the companions. 16 of the companions have narrated something to this effect, that the Prophet said, the one who cups and the one who is cupped have broken their fast. 16 companions. The next hadith, which is the hadith of Anas, that hadith has been criticized for its shudud, its oddity, its irregularity, in terms of its sanad, the chain of narrators, and the matan, the actual text of the hadith. This was mentioned by Ibn Hajar and other scholars, that the hadith has an illah. The illah is shudud, its oddity or irregularity, which means that the narrator has contradicted other narrators who are more reliable than him, and the matan itself contradicts the matan of a hadith, which are more what? Which are stronger. And this was mentioned by Ibn Hajar and other scholars about the second hadith. Go ahead, Amr, complete.
Hadith 543, narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam applied Qalam in Ramadan when he was fasting. Reported by Ibn Majah through a weak chain of narrators. At-Tirmidhi said, nothing on this subject is sound. 544. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, whoever forgets while fasting and eats or drinks, he should complete his fast. For Allah has fed him and given him drink. Agreed upon.
Jameel.
In the version of al-Hakim, whoever breaks his fast forgetfully has no refasting or atonement for it, and the narration is sound.
Okay.
545. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if one has a sudden attack of vomiting while fasting, no atonement is required of him, but if he vomits intentionally, he must make atonement. reported by al-Khamsa. Ahmad found it defective and Qutni graded it strong.
Okay, Allah, that's right. Let me look at that hadith real quick. I want to look at the takhrij of it real quick. Give me a second. Okay, I have no comment on the grading of it. I want you to go now to 550 really quickly. Do 550 for me. Do you have 550? Yes, you do. You have it. You have it. Read 550 because it's included in that same category, and then we're going to go to the sharh, the explanation of the hadith.
Hadith 550.
Right.
Narrated Aisha and Salama radiallahu anhuma, anhuma, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to get up at dawn while in a state of janaba. Then he would take a bath and fast, agreed upon. And Muslim added its narration in its narration of Salama, he would not miss it.
Mumtaz. Okay. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa rasulullah. So this a hadith that Amr just read, we can give them the title, or give that section the title, as you see in your outline: permitted, discouraged, and prohibited practices. Permitted, discouraged, and prohibited practices. That's the ahadith that Amr just mentioned, and we're going to comment on each one, inshallah ta'ala. So the first group of ahadith have to deal with the concept or the issue of al-hijama. No, I'm sorry. The first one is man lam yada' qawl az-zur, right? Whoever does not leave or abandon lying and falsehood in word and deed, right? So, the first point has to do with what? Al-kadhib. This hadith, it emphasizes the prohibition of lying and saying or doing that which is foolish whilst one is fasting. That these things are prohibited outside of the fast, but they're even more prohibited for the one who is fasting. They're even more prohibited for the one who is fasting. That's the first message in the hadith. ثم بعد ذلك he said, وَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ. Allah has no need. But whether the person lies or tells the truth, Allah has what? Has no need. He is totally what? Self-sufficient and in no need of anything that we do. So what then is the meaning of وَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ? Either the meaning is siyamuhu kala siyam. His fasting is like he didn't fast, which is a kinaya an adam al-qubul, which is basically another way of saying it's not going to be accepted. Will he get checked off, so to speak, that he fasted? Yes. But will he get a reward for it? No. The second possible interpretation of وَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ, Allah has no need, is that the reward he will get for the fasting pales in comparison to the sin he will get for lying or behaving foolishly while fasting. The reward he will get for his fast pales in comparison to the sin he will accumulate because of his lying or behaving foolishly while fasting. واضح يا إخوان? Is that clear? But the next hadith talks about what? Al-Qubla. تفضل Musa.
Before that, hadith 537 talked about continuous fasting.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that, did I? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you guys have to tell me these things. Alright, so 537 was the hadith of Wisal, fasting continuously. And this lets us know that one of the things that's prohibited, whether you're doing a voluntary fast or an obligatory fast, is fasting continuously without making iftar. Without making iftar. Now basically the time for iftar comes and you keep what? You continue not eating purposefully because what? You continue to what? To extend the fast. So this is something prohibited in Islam. It's not legislated, it's not encouraged, and it's not something the person should do thinking that he's going to gain Allah's pleasure. واضح؟ طيب ثم بعد ذلك we come to 540, and there's a few ahadith in this vein, right? Let's go through the ahadith pretty quickly. The Prophet had himself cupped when he was wearing the ihram during Hajj or Umrah, and also when he was fasting. Okay? That's the first hadith, collected by Muslim. Alright, what's in that hadith? It says that the Prophet did what? He got cupped while in the state of ihram, and also when he was fasting. وَاحْتَجَمَ وَهُوَ صَائِمٌ. Does it say that he got cupped and continued fasting? Does it say that?
It says wahua sa'im.
Okay, so he was fasting and he got cupped.
No.
But does that hadith say that he got cupped and continued fasting?
No.
Doesn't say that, does it?
Two separate.
We could understand that from that, but we could also understand that what? He got cupped and that what? Did what? It nullified his fast. That's possible, isn't it? Yes or no? You guys see that or don't you see that? Says احتجم وهو محرم. He got cupped while he was in state of ihram. He got cupped وهو صائم, while he was fasting. But that doesn't say that he got cupped and continued fasting. Does it say that? Amr, you look like you don't.
It's a little bit of a stretch, it seems like.
You think it's a stretch for to say that, so you think وَاحْتَجَمَ وَهُوَ صَائِمٌ means that what? استمر صائما.
That seems to be
That's what you get from it. But okay. But can you dispel the fact that it's possible?
possible.
It's possible. It's plausible. That's all I want. That's all I want. It's plausible. Okay, 541. The Prophet came across a man in al-Baqi who was being cupped in Ramadan. He said, the one who cups and the one who is cupped have broken their fast. Reported by al-Khamsa except al-Tirmidhi, Ahmad ibn Khuzaymah and Ibn Hibban, and we mentioned al-Bukhari as well, graded as what? As Sahih. Okay. So now in this hadith, we have a rule that states that the one who cups and the one who is cupped, both of them, their fast has been broken. With me? At this point, is there any contradiction between this hadith and the previous one? Only if the previous one we take it to mean the first meaning, that he got cupped and continued fasting. You guys understand that? But with the second meaning, they're what? They're right in line. He got cuffed and what? And broke his fast. Make sense?
And also, he says, ihtajama wa huwa mihram. He didn't say ihtajama wa huwa mahram wa huwa sa'im. He said, he made a whole other sentence.
Right. Like one time he was in ihram, another time he was what?
No.
He was fasting. So they're two separate things.
He
Okay.
didn't combine them. He could have just stopped at the one
Right.
and went right into the next one.
Hey. All right, so you guys with me so far?
So on the same, if you use the same logic for the muhrim,
Uh-huh.
does that mean that when he got cupped, he broke his ihram?
No, not necessarily, because we have no reason to believe that cupping will violate ihram. But we do have reason to believe that cupping will violate fasting. You see the difference?
Yeah.
You see the difference or not?
I do, but because it's mentioned one after the
Yeah. There's no. Okay, the first one, ihtajama huwa muhrim. He got cupped when he was wearing the ihram.
No. And then go to the next.
Okay, so that could mean. I mean, we could say for the sake of argument, it could mean he got cupped and stopped his ihram. He got cupped and continued in his ihram. But what would be the reason for us saying the first one? What would give us any reason to say that he got cupped and stopped his ihram. Because the reason why we said the second one, or we said that both are possible, is because we have reason to believe that cupping will violate fasting. So our question is, احتجم وهو صائم, he got cupped while he was fasting, could mean he got cupped and broke his fast by being cupped. Or he got cupped and continued fasting. Both are possible. We mentioned both possibilities. Why? Because we have other hadith that indicate that what? Cupping will break your fast. Whereas the ihram, there's no need for us to what? To have this debate about it could mean this, could mean that. Why? Because we have no reason to believe that cupping will violate the ihram. Make sense? Or no? Eunice, you look like it doesn't make sense. What? The whole reason why we say this about the second one, what we didn't say about the first one, is because we have reason to believe that cupping breaks the fast. So we want to ask ourselves, we have this hadith, does it contradict the other hadith? That's the whole reason why we mentioned that. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have mentioned it. Okay, let's go 542. What did we say about 542? 542, we said it was what?
Odd.
It was criticized for its oddity and irregularity by Ibn Hajar and others, which means we can't accept it as what? As a hujjah. We can't accept it as a proof, because when a hadith is odd or irregular, that means it was what? It was an error on the part of what? The narrator. And an error is always an error. It can't be what? Strengthened by other hadith. Guys got that? So that's an exception to the rule of what? A hadith being strengthened by other hadith. So we have 3 hadith about what? Al-hijama. And I mentioned what I mentioned about the hadith. Why? Because the scholars have differed about whether or not al-hijama will break one's fast. Okay? All right, let me give you the 2 opinions. The first opinion is that al-hijama will break the fast. That's the opinion of Ahmad and Ishaq ibn Rahawayh. And they use the hadith, the second hadith, that the Prophet said, Aftar al-hajim wal-mahjum, the one who the one who got cupped and the one who cupped have both broken their fast. Okay? The second opinion, la yufattir, it doesn't break your fast. That's the opinion of Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Shafi'i. Okay? With me so far?
What is cupping?
What is cupping? Cupping is bloodletting. That basically they have a method. It's a method. It's like a treatment. I mean, he asked me that too, and I forgot. Okay, so cupping is a type of treatment. It's a type of a method of treating certain illnesses. And basically, what they do is they make small incisions in the skin, and they have different methods of what? Drawing what they call a dam al-fasid, basically blood which is harmful to the body. They draw it out of these incisions that they make. They have different methods. One method that they do is they'll take a vessel that they're going to use for this cupping purpose, and they'll take a piece of paper and light it on fire, and they'll put it in the cup, right? The vessel. And then they'll take that vessel and they'll put it on the spot where they made the incisions. Why do they light the fire and put it in the cup and then put the cup? Because what does fire do? It looks for oxygen. It sucks, right? So when they put that cup with that fire inside the cup on that spot, it starts to suck out the dam al-fasid. It starts to suck out the bad blood. And you'll see the blood that comes out is dark, it's thick, it may even be like lumpy. Okay, so it sucks out, it seeks out and sucks out the bad blood. That's one way they cup. Another way that they cup is they'll have like a special tube that they use, and they'll put it on the spot and they'll begin to do what? They'll suck until what? The blood starts to be drawn out. And once it starts to draw out, then what? They no longer have to suck anymore. It just automatically what? Flows. It's just like one of you who wants to take gasoline out of a gas tank, right? You siphon it, right? What do you start doing though? But once you get it to flow, it flows on its own, doesn't it? Same concept. So they have these different methods that they use. They have people who specialize in it. There's even different types of cupping, right? But at any rate, it's what? Bloodletting. They remove what? Blood, which is harmful, and it's a treatment for different illnesses. It's also a means to basically encourage certain good properties that people want. So for example, people who have problems with memory, or they want to improve their memory, there's a certain place where they'll cup to what? To improve memory. Some people have sinusitis, they have issues with their sinuses, and there's a certain place where they'll cup to what? To relieve sinus pressure. Al-Muhim is that it's a treatment for illnesses. At the same time, it's a method to do what? To promote certain positive qualities within what? Within the body. That's what cupping is. And in English, they call it bloodletting. It's another word for cupping, bloodletting. Guys got it? Make sense now? Okay. So that being said, the scholars, we mentioned they had two opinions. It breaks your fast. Ahmad was Ishaq. It doesn't break your fast. Abu Hanifa, Malik was Shafi'i. Got it? طيب. Allah knows best. The strongest opinion is that what? It will break your fast, which is the opinion of Ahmad and Ishaq. It will break your fast. So what do you do about the hadith that says ihtajama wa huwa sa'im? That the Prophet cupped or was cupped while he was fasting. What do you do about that? Well, the scholars of Islam, they said that this hadith is what? Muhtamal. This hadith is what? It has two possible interpretations. It can be understood in two ways. احتجم وهو صائم ففسد صومه. He was fasting, he got cupped, and did what? And intentionally nullified his fast. The second one, احتجم واستمر صائما. He got cupped and continued what? Fasting thereafter. But this understanding of the hadith, the second one, it contradicts what? The other hadith that says, Aftar al-Hajim wal-Mahjub. The one who was being cupped and the one who was cupped have both what? Have both broken their fast. So there's no way to reconcile between the two ahadith if what? If we accept the second possible interpretation. Okay, also, we have confidence that the first interpretation is the correct one. Meaning what? He got cupped and what? Nullified his fast. Because in the narration of the Bukhari of the same hadith, he said, أَنَّهُ مِنْ وَجَعٍ فِي رَأْسِي. That when the Prophet got cupped, he did it because he had what? He had a pain in his head. So he was ill. So he was treating this with what? He was treating this with hijama. You guys see that? So that gives us reason to believe that what? He got himself treated and did what? And nullified his fast because he was ill. And he can do that, right? He can do that. So that's why we say that the correct opinion is the opinion of Ahmad and Ishaq, that cupping does what? It nullifies the fast.
Is there no other hadith that strengthens the abrogation?
The abrogation of it? Well, the one hadith that we do have is not strong enough. It's a weak hadith. So I'm not aware of any. I'm not aware of any. So now we have two issues now here I want to mention that relate to this whole issue of hijama. The first thing is that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Aftar al-Hajim wal-Mahjum. He said the one who cupped and the one who got cupped both have broken their fast. So you have a person who's breaking his fast and one who's what? Breaking his fast for him. Aiding and abetting in the breaking of his fast. Okay? You guys see that? So you have the mufattir or the muftir and the alladhi aftar. The one who he did something to cause someone else's fast to be broken, and the one who broke his fast. So now, do we make an analogy now between this and anyone who does anything to what? To make someone break their fast. Do we make an analogy? Meaning, someone comes to visit me, Muslim. He says, man, I can't do it today, man. I can't fast, man. Do you have anything to eat? So I give him something to eat during the daytime. So now what have I done? أفطرته. I what? I broke his fast for him. I aided in abetting the break of his fast, and he did what? He broke his fast. So now since I gave him food, can we make an analogy between this and what? Me cupping him and him being cupped. The answer is no. Because as we mentioned earlier, what can we not do for the ibadat? What can we not do in the acts of worship? We can't make qiyas, right? We can't make qiyas in the acts of worship because we don't really know unless we know for certain what the illah is, right? And we don't know. So for that reason, we can't make qiyas. So it's specific, this concept of the one who broke the fast and the one who broke it for him being what? Both of them having their fast broken is specific to what? Al-hijama. Specific to hijama. Anything else, if you aided and abetted, it wouldn't do what? It wouldn't break your fast.
But you would be sinful.
Huh?
But you would be sinful.
For aiding and abetting, yeah, you'd be sinful. Because Allah says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Yeah. All right, so now, one other issue. التَّبَرُّ بِالدَّمِ. Suppose a person donates blood. Person donates blood. Is that person like the mahjum? Is that person like the one who got cupped? Would he then, in this case, have broken his fast? Well, the scholars, they say that if the person donates blood to the extent that it causes da'f fil badan, it weakens the body and makes fasting a hardship, then yes, it would break his fast. But if he donated an amount that didn't have this effect, that his fast would not be what? Would not be broken. And the same is true for the one who he did tahleel. You guys know how you go to the doctor and they'll do like a kashf, they'll do like an exam, and a part of the exam is they'll draw some vials of blood to run tests on it. Well, the drawing of that blood is not enough to what? To cause weakness in the body, and so therefore the drawing of that blood will not be considered analogous to al-hijama, to cupping or bloodletting, and therefore the person could continue to what? Continue to fast. You guys see that? طيب. Any questions about that, ya ikhwan? Any questions? Uh-huh.
Seeing the quantity increases in the blood, but you don't know after, let's say, after one certain pint,
Uh-huh.
you'll feel weak or not.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, if somebody feels weak, but that his intention was not there.
Intention for what? You mean to break?
Yeah, to break the fast.
Well, it's not going to really be about his intention necessarily. It's going to be whether or not what he does is analogous to cupping. So how much blood comes out when you cup? And how much blood when you bloodlet? If the amount of blood that's withdrawn is analogous to that, then the Sharia doesn't differentiate between two things which are alike. You follow me? But if it's less than that and it doesn't create what? Any weakness in the body, then he just takes that as what? As something that will not break his fast.
The cupping has very small amount of blood which comes out.
No, they'll cup a lot. This guy who used to live downstairs from me in the kingdom, he went and got cupped, and he had like, I guess I don't know why they did they put the blood in a bag. And he had like a sack, he had like a sack of, so it just depends on what they're treating you for. So it's going to depend, yeah. But, all right, so then after that, the next hadith is the hadith of Aisha about al-Kuhl in Ramadan. And at-Tirmidhi said that there's nothing sound on this subject. But in spite of that, we go back to what? The qa'idah that we mentioned at the beginning of the class. That what? Al-asl fi ghayr al-ibadat al-hillu wal-ibaha. The asl is what? Permissibility, as long as it has nothing to do with what? Ibadah. So can a person use kuhl while he's fasting? He can until what? Until proof is given to the contrary. Okay, so we go back to the asl. All right. ثم بعد ذلك, Abu Hurairah narrated that whoever forgets while fasting and eats and drinks, then, before we do that, let's go back to this kuhl. All right. So the asl is that kuhl is not a mufattir. Is that right? That's the asl. Because the asl في الأشياء غير العبادات الحل والإباحة. The original rule when it comes to anything which has nothing to do with ibadah is what? It's permissible and allowed. You guys with me? So that means that the asl is that kuhl is allowed for the one who's fasting unless we have proof to the contrary. So now the question comes about the issue of what? Mufattirat. What are the things which are fast breakers? They will break your fast and they have the evidence to support it. And we'll just mention those ala ujala. The first one, khuruj al-hayd wal-nifas. Dam al-hayd wal-nifas. That when a woman starts to experience that monthly visitor, or when she has postpartum bleeding, when she first basically starts to give birth and bleeding as a result of that birth, then that will do what? That will make her fast nullified. That's the first one. And we mentioned the proof for that previously. The second one, al-maut. Death. Person dies, he's no longer fasting. Okay? That's obvious. Ar-ridda. Apostasy. Why? Because one of the conditions for the acceptability of fasting is what? Al-Islam. And the validity of the fasting is what? Islam. Type number 4, al-azam al-fitr. A person basically resolves himself, makes up his mind, he's going to do what? I'm going to break my fast. There's a water fountain, and he heads toward it. With the conviction that what? As soon as I reach it, I'm going to drink. That person is no longer fasting even before he does what? Even before he drinks. Why? Because what is fasting? It's al-imsak biniyat as-sawm, right? It's al-imsak biniyat as-sawm. It's when you refrain with the intention of what? Of fasting. As soon as you break that intention with the resolve to not fast, immediately, as soon as you break that intention, you're no longer fasting. Okay?
What if you don't do it? When you get to it?
That's the thing. Even if he doesn't do it he made the what? The resolve to do it. As soon as he breaks the niyyah, he's no longer fasting. You guys see that? So at this point, he's standing here. The water fountain is where you are. And he says, man, I'm thirsty, man. I'm done with this. I'm going to have a drink. He walks over there with the intention, I'm going to drink. At that point, he's not fasting. Even if he gets to the water fountain, he doesn't drink. So he has to maintain what? Maintain the niyyah of fasting. Even if he doesn't drink, breaking the niyyah breaks the fast. You guys see that? Let me ask you a question. You're out and about, coming home from work, and the sun sets, and it's time to break fast, and you don't have anything to eat, nothing to drink. Wa alaykum salam. Nothing to eat, nothing to drink. But you have to break your fast, don't you? How do you break your fast? Biniyah. I'm not fasting anymore. You guys see that? You're not fasting just because there's nothing in the car to eat. You break your fast with what? With a niyyah. Same thing. When he makes up his mind and says, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a drink. He says it to himself. He resolves himself. I'm not fasting anymore. I'm going to go have a drink. If he gets over the water fountain and says, man, I can't do this. He afsada sawma. He basically broke his fast by what? By the intention and the resolve to drink.
There's no forgiveness for him because
I mean, he can be forgiven for anything. But he still has to what? He still has to make up that day, because what is fasting? Fasting is al-imsak bi-niyyah. It's basically you refrain with the intention of fasting. So you have to have the intention and not just the action. Because that would be no different than the one, like we said earlier, who woke up early, had something to eat, and went the whole day working and was so busy he didn't have time to eat anything. He came at the end of the day and said, I was fasting. He said, you're not fasting until what? Till you have the niyyah. You have to have that niyyah. You make sense? All right. طيب, تفضل.
Lastly, to attach to this, when we say niyyah, about the niyyah for Ramadan, I think we read about it that we can do the niyyah in the beginning of Ramadan.
Yes, some people say that you just make one niyyah, but that's not the correct thing, because we have the hadith of Hafsa, or the athar of Hafsa and Ibn Umar. They said, Man lam yabit an-niyyah. Yubayit, صح. Man lam yubayit an-niyyah. Fala siyama lah. Whoever doesn't have the niyyah at night, meaning what? The night before the next day. And that's what? Every night. Every night. So once the Sahaba, once they say something like that, and they have no mukhalif, they have no one who differs with them. I mean, that's the end of it. They close the discussion. It goes back to what we said earlier in the beginning. We said that we have to give credence to what? Their understanding and their fatawa, their verdicts, and their fahm. I mean, their ijma', their collective unanimous agreement. Yeah. Type, anything else along those lines? Is that clear? Type, so one more thing on this. Okay, so let's continue with those. Okay, so we mentioned that a person resolves to what? To break his fast. The next one, a taraddud. A person's what? He's going back and forth. I'm going to break it. No, I'm not going to break it. I'm going to break it. I'm not going to break it. Because at that point, because of what? Going back and forth, he doesn't have what? He doesn't have that resolve. So he has to keep that resolve, and he can't what? He can't be mutaraddid. طيب. Number 6, al-qay amdan. The person does what? He vomits intentionally. And there's going to be a hadith that's going to come regarding this. And this is bil ijma'. Hakahu ibn al-Mundhir. Ibn al-Mundhir transmitted the ijma' that the one who intentionally vomits breaks his fast. Number 7, al-hijama. Cupping, bloodletting, and we mentioned the proof for that previously in the discussion about that. Number 8, khuruj al-mani bil-mubashara or al-istimna'. So if a person ejaculates because of what? Relations, or because of the other act that some men do. I guess it's applicable to both sexes. I guess I shouldn't say that, but you get the point. Then that will be what? That will break the fast. But this is not the case with this, as we said, with the case of what? Al-madhi. Al-madhi is that prosthetic fluid that may come when a person is aroused, but they don't go beyond it, don't get gratification. But al-mani, which is semen, that's when the person has broken their fast. And that's if it comes from what? Al-mubashara or al-istimna'. Not a person being asleep, having certain thoughts. You guys understand that. So that won't break the fast. But number 9. Anything, Tafaddal Musa.
So, we were doing 45, we was talking about vomiting.
No, we're not there yet.
We're not at 545.
No, we're not there yet. We're just talking about 543, al-kuhl. Because we said that 543, al-kuhl, gave us the impression that kuhl was not a mufattir. And we said that's correct, even though the hadith isn't authentic. But we want to mention that what are the mufattirat? What are the things which will break your fast?
Okay.
And anything else, we're going to have proof for it. You guys see that? We have to prove for it. All right. طيب. Number 9, which is the last one. Anything which reaches the stomach and the digestive system, if you will, which has the propensity, has the ability to what? To give you a taqwiyah, can strengthen you, or a taghdiyah, it does what? It gives the body nutrients, it nurtures the body. If it enters what? The digestive system. Suppose a person takes tata'im, they take what they call vaccinations. And that enters into what? The veins. Doesn't enter into what? Digestive system. That doesn't break your fast. Suppose a person takes a TB shot. That just enters under what? The skin. Doesn't break your fast. Make sense?
What about saliva?
No, it doesn't break the fast. Abadan. If it did, none of us would be able to fast. Saliva does not break the fast.
What about flavored saliva?
Saliva doesn't break the fast. That's a good question, Shaykh. That's a good question. Any other questions? طيب, let's quickly complete. So the next hadith we have is a hadith of Abu Hurairah Man nasiya wa huwa sa'im. The one who what? Forgets while he's fasting. This hadith is one of the hadith which is used as a basis for what we call qa'idat an-nisyan. The rule or the principle of forgetfulness. Which basically says what? An-nasi إذا ترك مأمورا فلا يأثم ويؤمر بالإعادة وإذا فعل محذورا فلا يأثم ولا يؤمر بالإعادة. So in this qaida, the scholars of Islam, they said that the nasi, the one who forgets, if he abandons something which is required because of his forgetfulness, then he isn't sinful, but he has to do what? He has to make that thing up. On the other hand, if due to his forgetfulness he did something haram, did something prohibited, he's not sinful, nor is he yulzam bi shay, nor is he what? Ordered to what? To make amends or do anything. So the first part of the qaida, what's the proof? The proof for the first part of the qaida is the hadith like Bukhari and Muslim on the authority of Anas, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man nama an salat, aw nasiyaha, falyusalliha idha dhakaraha, la kaffarata laha ghayra dhalik." He said in this hadith, he said, whoever overslept or failed to offer a prayer due to forgetfulness, he forgot. He got so busy and caught up in this thing, he forgot, oh, I didn't pray Asr. فَلْيُصَلِّيهَا إِذَا ذَكَرَهَا. Then let him pray it when he remembers. There is no kafara. He doesn't have to make any expiation other than what? Making up the prayer. Notice, he forgot to pray, and prayer is an obligation. So the Prophet told him to what? You have to make that up. On the other side, though, suppose he forgot and did something haram. In that case, he's not sinful, and he doesn't have to what? Make amends. And the proof is what? The hadith of Abi Hurairah. He said, "Man nasiya huwa sa'im, fa'akala aw sharib, فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمًا فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ." He said, whoever was fasting, or he forgot while he was fasting, and he ate and drank, then let him complete his fast, because it was only Allah who fed him and gave him drink. Notice he forgot and did something what? Haram, due to his forgetfulness, wasn't sinful and wasn't commanded to do what? To make it up. You guys see that? So that's the first thing, the qa'idah. The second thing is that this hukm, this ruling, is applicable to all of what? Of the mufattirat. Everything that we just mentioned, if a person did it out of forgetfulness, then he wouldn't be what? Wa alaikum salam. He wouldn't be commanded to what? To make it up. You guys get that? It's applicable to all of the mufattirat. And one of them we didn't mention is what? Al-jima'. Intercourse. We didn't mention jima' or food and drink, did we? The most obvious ones we didn't mention. So add those, ya ikhwan. Food and drink, at-ta'am wa sharab. Food and drink. And then the last one would be al-jima', intercourse. Okay? Alright. So now we're done. Did we do 550? Is that the last one we have to do? We did 545, right? No, that's 545 is the al-qay. Okay, intentional vomiting is a mufattir bil ijma'. And we gave the ijma'. The ijma' was transmitted. Ibn Abdul Barr, I think it was, right? No, that's Ibn al-Mundhir was the ijma' for al-qay. And if a person does it by accident, if they just are overcome by vomiting, then they are not obligated to what? Their fast is not broken by that. Guys got it? Let's do 550 quickly. What time is it then? Is it really now? I thought it was 9:12. 9:12. Okay. Khalas. Alright, let me just do this last hadith. 550 is a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ used to get up at dawn while in a state of janaba. So what that teaches us is that if a person has not yet bathed from al-janaba, that will not violate or prevent him from being able to fast. That it's not something which will have any negative impact on the fast. So it is something which is what? Permitted. Something permitted. That the person actually wakes up and is in a state of janaba and begins the fast. Is that clear? All right, so what do we have left? We just have 3 sections and about 46, 47, 48, 3, 4. We have 5 ahadeeth. If you guys want, we can stay for about 20 minutes and do those after. And we'll be done, inshallah ta'ala. Won't take long. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد.